Hello everyone, you are watching VDC with Ronald.
In this next video, we will talk about the user coordinate system and some of the basic 3D shapes that we can use to create objects. I'll start by creating a new file. Click on the new icon and choose the AutoCAD ISO template and click Open. Save your file on your folder. Click on Visualize tab and set the viewport configuration to vertical. On the right viewport, change the view to southwest isometric and move to the view or viewport on the left side. Just click on the viewport. There. Go back to the Home tab and we will create our basic shapes listed here. Let's start with the box. Using the box tool, just create a square and assign a thickness. So I'll just click on a point here and then I'll just move the pointer. So you can see I'm using the dynamic UCS. So I'll just type the dimension, let's say 500, and I'll press a tab key, type 500 again. Okay, and then press enter. That's your length and width. As you can see on the cursor, it says specify height. And as you can see, there's an option, height or. To choose the option, you can press the down key on the keyboard. This option applies to every tool that we use in AutoCAD. Okay, I'll press the up key to cancel that. I'll just type in 500 here and I'll press enter. Okay, that finished the command. I'll click on the viewport on the right side and I'll double click on the scroll key to use the zoom extents. So you can see here we have the box object. Okay. To visualize this further, I'll change the visual style from 2D wireframe to shaded to change the visualization. So you can see this object is solid. Okay. These 3D objects have properties. So if you press Ctrl 1, okay, this will show the properties palette. If you select this one, the box that we created earlier, as you can see, there is length, width, and the height properties here. So you can change these properties to adjust the dimension of the object. So for example, for the height, I'll change this to 750. So using this predefined geometries, the advantage is you can change the dimensions after creating the object. I'll close the properties. I'll move on with the others. I'll just click on this one. I'll press escape and use pan and move on with the others. As you can see, there's always a basic shape that is related with the 3D. It's usually just a 2D shape and then you add a thickness or height. So for example, the box, if you remember, it's the same with the rectangle but with a thickness. For the cylinder, it's the same with the circle with a specific height. Same with the cone and same with the sphere. What's good about the dynamic input is that it can guide you with using the tools. So for example, I'll click on this one to minimize. On the right side, lower right, part of the interface, we have the customization. Make sure that the dynamic input is checked, so to make it visible. As you can see, if you click on the dynamic input here, you can see that this is the icon for the dynamic input. So using the dynamic input, I'll right click on the dynamic input and click on the dynamic input settings. Okay, this shows the settings for this tool. So you can see here on the right side, enable dimension input where possible. That's what we used earlier. And this one, show command prompting and command input near the crosshairs. That's why the options is near the crosshair. Okay, let's click on the settings for this one. Enable pointer input, the settings there. And you can see here on the format that there is a specific format for second or next points. As you can see here, this is specified as relative coordinates. This means that any point or any second point that you'll specify is always relative. So you don't need to put the @ symbol on the coordinates that you will input on the command line. You just need to specify the relative coordinates for that one. Let me show you that one. Click on OK, OK. Let's use the cylinder. I'll click on cylinder, and as you can see, the command line is, or the options for the command is listed beside the cursor. It says specify center point, so I'll click on the center. And if you hover the mouse, as you can see, there is a specific measurement, and that measurement is in reference with the first point that you've selected. Ibig sabihin yan, ano man yung ating ilagay ay naka-reference doon sa first point natin, yung kakaklik ko lang ngayon. No? Hindi siya in reference doon sa origin, which is yung 0, 0. Okay? So this means na mas magiging mabilis yung paglalagay natin or pag-input natin ng measurement. Okay? So I'll type 500 for the radius, and I'll type 500 for the other dimensions needed. Okay. Now, as you can see, every tool listed here, kamukha lang siya ng basic 2D. Okay, ang kulang lang dyan ay yung ating height or thickness. Okay. For example, sa cone, it's the same with the circle. Specify the center, specify a radius, let's say 500, and then you will specify a height, let's say 750. It's the same. But if you click on the 3D view, makikita nyo na this is a cone. And same with the previous one, may properties to na pwede natin i-change anytime. Kasi siya ay predefined na 3D. Okay? So that applies for every tool present here. Okay? Kung ano yung natutunan nyo ng 2D, that applies dun sa ating 3D. Now, what I want to discuss on this video is the user coordinate system. So, using the user coordinate system, as you can see, pwede tayong maglagay ng mga measurements. Okay, related dun sa coordinate system na meron tayo. Tandaan natin, we have the Cartesian coordinate and the polar coordinates. So, pag sinabi Cartesian, we are measuring based on the x and y values. Okay, kapag naman polar, we are using the distance and then the angle. Okay. Now, using those user coordinate systems, we can specify yung mga yung dimensions or direction ng specific na object. Okay, with regards to the plane. Okay. For example, the x and y plane listed here. To visualize that, i-turn on ko yung ating grid. Okay, so from here, gaano ba kalayo yung isang point? Okay, let's try that one. I'll create another, this time, I'll create a sphere. Okay, okay. As you can see here, we are asked to specify the center point. Instead of clicking a point here, I'll type the coordinate based on X and Y. So I'll type, let's say, 200, and then I'll press the tab key, and I'll type 500. So 200 on X, 500 on Y. I'll press enter, and as you can see here, there is your 200 by 500 distance from the origin. Okay? So I'll just input 500 for the radius, and we have our sphere. Okay? Now, yung pinakita ko sa inyo na ngayon, ang magiging problem natin dyan sa coordinates, hindi naman natin pwedeng gamitin lagi in relation to origin yung ating measurement. Most of the time, yung ating measurements ay related sa isang object. So, for example, from this corner, papunta doon, gaano ba kalayo? And paano natin ililipat, okay, yung ating, yung direction ng ating model. So, as you can see, kung ang example natin, kung ito ay para floor, no, nasa lapag siya. Okay? So, what if we are creating a cone on this side of our box? Okay, pointing on the right side. Hindi natin yun magagawa kasi yung default direction ng cone will be upwards. Okay, pointing sa z-axis. Okay, so, kakailanganin natin yung user coordinate system. So, we have different ways to move the coordinate. Okay, let's discuss few of the options here. Some of the options on the coordinates panel on the ribbon. Okay, first and foremost is the world. Okay, using the world coordinate, I'll click on that one. Ibig sabihin yan, binalik mo doon sa original na location ng coordinate system. So, kailangan tandaan natin to. Kasi every time we change the UCS, okay, we have to change it back to world. So, yun ang una natin dapat pag-aralan. No? So, as you can see, ang kanyang alias is UCS. You can also type UCS, press enter, and then we have the option world. Right, for example, this one, world. Okay. Now, to move it, I'll choose some of the options here. For example, we have this one, the face. Okay. Using the face, you can select one of the faces here. Okay. Paki-check niyo maigi yung grid na nasa floor. Okay. If I select this face, okay, napansin niyo yung ating grid, naging oriented siya doon. So, I'll click on accept. And everything is related na dun sa face or direction ito. So, if I go back here and choose cone, okay, and I move on this side of the face of the object, and I click there, so you can see the cone is placed on that face of the box. So I'll type 250 for the radius, and I'll input 500 for the height of the cube. Okay, I'll click on world, and changes back to the original location of the user coordinate system. Now, an easier way to do this is by activating the dynamic UCS. Okay, on the customization, make sure that the dynamic UCS is active. This one, it's visible. Okay, you can turn it on and off so you can see the icon. That is the dynamic UCS. It's actually turned on right now. Okay, let's do it one more time. I'll use isolate to hide the other objects. So I'll just select this object here. So I'll click on here and another point here. And using the isolation, this one, isolate objects, I'll click there and I'll choose isolate objects to hide the other objects. Okay, and then using, I'll turn off the grid because this one is not needed anymore. And I'll do the same object, the cone. So I'll click on the cone here. If I move the pointer here, as you can see, nag-highlight siya. That means this object or the UCS from the floor, okay, dynamic nga kasi siya, no? Nag-move siya papunta dun sa face na yun. That's the purpose of the dynamic UCS. So that means you can move it using the tools here. For example, you can move it by view, you move it by face, or dynamically you can move it in reference with the faces by using this dynamic UCS. So they use those tools. Okay, another thing that we can use here is the 3D object snap. So I'll turn on the 3D object snap, this one. That's the icon. I'll turn it on to make sure that if I use this face here, there is the center, as you can see. Okay, the 3D center. So I'll choose that one, and I'll input 250, and I use 500 for the radius. Okay, as you can see here, this one is not correct. I'll just erase this one. And then I'll apply the cone again. That's the center. 250 and then 500. Okay. I'll use the orbit to orbit around. Click on the cone. Move on the face. Move to the center. Click. And then type 250. Make sure that the direction is correct. Okay, move it to the right like this one. Type 500. I'll orbit again. Use the same tool. Click on the center. 250 for the radius. Move it slightly and then type 500. Okay, that's it. So using the dynamic UCS or by moving the coordinate system, you can change how a tool behaves, and you can create objects relative to other faces. That's the basic tool that we need. Even though yung discuss ngayon ay very basic lang, makakapag-create tayo ng mga much complex objects pagka pinagsama-sama natin ngayon. So ang key dito is make sure that you are on the correct user coordinate system. And make sure to always click on the world icon here para lagi siyang nandun sa tamang direksyon. Okay.